Welcome to Talking Politics. I am Paul Gable. I'm here with my good friend and co-host John Bonsignor, and today we are entertaining Horry County's current Registrar of Deeds, Marion Foxworth. We'll be back in a moment. Well, welcome back. And Marion, thank you for joining us today.
Marion, why are you so solemn? You're not smiling or anything. Why are you so solemn?
And, you know, our show is Talking Politics, and there's nobody I know in Horry County that has a broader spectrum of experience in government than you do. And not only that, but you're also our resident Horry County historian. But let's go back a minute. You started... Well, you worked on a lot of campaigns as a kid, but you became a political consultant, and then you went as a legislative aide to the legislative delegation that we have in, and I believe you were heavily involved in the writing of the legislation that became known as the Capital Project Sales Tax.
Correct. That was a long intro, basically to say I'm old.
Not as old as I am, though, so you're still okay.
And that I've been around,
kicked around. And we have kicked around for a long time.
Yeah, in the 1990s, I worked for the members of the Horry County delegation as a legislative assistant, and one of our projects was the writing and passage of the Capital Project Sales Tax law. It was primarily written specifically for Highway 22, or as that was called then, the Conway Bypass. And a quirk of fate in politics, it ended up not being used to build that highway because it was defeated at the polls. But we have passed it twice since then in Horry County, and it's been used all over the state.
And of course, what we're talking about in Horry County is our Ride 2 and Ride 3 programs.
Correct.
And I guess also the schools 1 cent tax with their capital projects.
Actually, that's a separate piece of legislation.
Oh, okay. Only in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There are actually 2 versions on the education level, one at the state level and then another that individual counties can adopt. We actually have both in Horry County.
Well, of course. We never saw a tax we didn't like down here, I think.
What are you looking at me for? I'm just listening.
Well, you did that, and then in what was it, 2002, you ran in a special election for District 3 for County Council.
That was a tough one. You and DeFeo.
It was.
DeFeo won once. You challenged him. Of course, reversed
Actually, Joe and I opposed each other 3 or 4 times.
4? I didn't realize it was that many times.
At least 3. I
3.
Can't really remember. In 02, again in 04, and then in 05.
In the special, remember the election was thrown out and there was a special election ordered in.
Yeah, right.
I won 2 of them pretty soundly and lost 1 by 37 votes prior to the election being thrown out. The governor went to the state Supreme Court, and the governor ordered a new election, and I won that special election.
Well, you spent 14, 13?
I was in my 13th
Well,
year.
how can you lose an election when you had all of this background as a guru of politics? I mean, that's really surprising. You really should have. Joe was a newcomer on the scene. You're a local, born here, raised here, gone to school here.
May I answer that?
Go for it.
Go for it.
It was real simple.
I'm just telling you about
Marion ran as a Democrat at the time. The Republicans were, blindly voting anybody had an R behind their name.
But still, the Democrats control this area.
Not then.
Many years.
No, this was
Not then, John.
04.
Well, still, when Marion was running, a lot of people. I'm sorry, Marion.
No, that's not true.
Into you. What Marion wanted to say.
I was just going to note it was 04, which was George W. Bush's re-election year. It was a big
And that was the height of
year.
Dwayne Oliver's reign as the Republican Party chairman in Horry County.
Well, he handpicked Joe DeFeo to run against you,
Yes.
thinking that he could beat you, but they didn't realize that you're a very stern politician that knows the issues, and that's what carried you across. And you know everybody here as well in this District 3. You knew mostly all of the people here until you gerrymandered it out, or somehow when you were in charge of redistricting with the new census. You were the chairman, weren't you?
I was chairman of the redistricting committee following the 2010 census when we drew the current county council lines in 2011, which was actually one of my, maybe one of my proudest things I did on council. It's the first time in 40 years that Horry County actually pulled it off without involvement from the federal courts or the Attorney General.
Yeah, that's true.
The Voting Rights Act.
But you were just here in Horry County, right? You were
Yes.
taking care of the redistricting here. Alan Clemens was the chairman of the state, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was chairman of the House redistricting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right. And then he had Sellers with him as well. Now he's a big star at CNN, Sellers. Bakari Sellers, that's right. Well, anyway, tell us something of the history of Horry County. Tell us way back during the Civil War, which I know you're a historian, and you know all these little deeds and little anecdotes that you can tell the public that maybe just moving into the area, and the rich history of Horry County.
Horry County is a very interesting place. Paul and I joke that we have 300 plus years of fomenting violence and revolution.
Well, you both look that age.
It's an interesting place. We have as long and as storied a history as Charleston or Boston or some of the other places that are thought of as historical. It's just not quite as populated then. Horry County didn't really come into its own until much later than some areas because of our beach. 60 miles of uninterrupted beach made it difficult to get here. And as a result, cut off by rivers and swamps, we were almost an island unto ourselves. And thus became the Independent Republic of Horry, which is still our county motto. We pretty well did things the way we wanted, and the General Assembly in Columbia kind of let us until the 20th century.
Well, like you and I have often talked about, in Horry County, the law doesn't apply, and if it does, we'll change it.
Well, things have changed. It's a little different than it once was. But part of that isolation, it was a 3-day journey to get to the beach.
3 days, oh my
3
goodness.
days. The first bridge across the Waccamaw didn't happen
Well, you know,
until
told us
12.
who started that, Dr. Generette told us that when we had him on a couple of months ago.
Well, that wasn't,
Wasn't that the bridge? Didn't he talk
that
about
wasn't the
bridge?
first bridge across the Waccamaw.
That wasn't, okay, you have to take a break to show me.
Yeah, they're showing it's time for us to go out for a break. We'll be back in a moment.
My name is Angelo Antonucci, and I'd like to welcome you to my restaurant. I've been in Myrtle Beach now for over 30 years, and we are the home of the greatest steaks in the universe.
Here at Angelo's, we have a fantastic Italian buffet with your favorite pastas served with meatballs and sausage and delicious gourmet pizzas. But where we really shine is our entrees like our Scampi Traditional, Alfredo or Lemon Romano served over linguine, our French pork chops with garlic mashed potatoes, and our twin fillets featuring our signature Marsala sauce. It's a great place to enjoy with family and friends, so stop by and see us at our new location at the corner of 24th Avenue South and South Kings Highway.
Don't just take my word for it. Come in and try Angelo's, home of the greatest steaks in the universe.
Here at Angelo's.
Located at 1300 Highway 544 near Coastal Carolina University, Soho 544 is an area's favorite for sushi, hibachi, American and Asian fusion cuisine. Soho 544 also offers daily happy hour special for only $5, as well as some of the lowest beer and liquor prices along the Grand Strand. So don't wait, come and join us. Soho 544 also caters to large parties and special events.
Well, welcome back. And we're talking about when Horry County was an isolated island and the state of South Carolina liked it that
And it
way.
took 3 days to get here.
You know, what's interesting about that is I'm now the Registrar of Deeds, which is kind of humbling to think. It's basically, someone's had this job since the 1700s.
1700?
Yes.
Goes way back then?
Actually, even before then. You could date it back to the late 1600s. Our history as a county begins in 1801. And at least since 1801, someone has been in charge of tracking land records here in what was Horry District. The original position was called the Commissioner of Location. Very important job. The first one was a guy by the name of Josiah Lewis, followed by Thomas Fearwell, who was in the original Board of Commissioners for Horry County.
Does Rankin name get there anyway?
Well, the next one was Thomas Beatty, who served before, during, and after the Civil War and kind of was able to pull us back from the brink following some of the war crimes at the end of the war. And Beatty Street in Conway,
Oh, yeah, right.
which Rankin's office is on.
That's right. Rankin's.
Or Lewis Street in Conway from Josiah Lewis. So it was a very important position. Eventually it was folded into the clerk of court's office, and some 20, 30 years ago, the state allowed counties, if they so choose, to pull that function out of the clerk of court's office and establish a separate registrar of deeds. So even though someone's had this job since the late 1600s, it's been called different things, and I am technically only the third register of deeds for Horry County.
Did you see records going way back then?
Oh, yes.
1700? Really? Records?
We have
No kidding.
we have a complete registry back to 1801. Deeds, mortgages, plats.
How do you preserve them so they're not?
Great question. When I got there 3 years ago, some of that historical record was beginning to slip away. In fact, one of the deed books where Thomas Beatty had gone in and hand reconstructed an index destroyed in the Civil War, that book with his inscription in his own hand had been shipped to records retention. It was in a dusty, mildewy warehouse. I brought it back, and we're in the process now of a long-range preservation and restoration.
How thick was this dust?
It
On
was
that,
pretty
it must have
thick.
been really.
It was-
Wow,
Actually, they
you really-
get
wow.
used more than you might think.
Is that
There
right?
is a reason to maintain those older records. FEMA, for instance, we're in this flooding situation now. If they choose to buy out a house that's been flooded, part of that record that's required is a complete title search all the way back. We live close to waterways. Prior to our revolution, lands were deeded differently than they are now. If you were adjacent to a waterway, the property line was not the water's edge. Instead, it was the midpoint of the water. If you can show that all the way back, then that becomes very important when in our day and age, you start talking about things like permits for docks along the waterway or the estuaries like the Swashes, where you're allowed to build and whether or not you need federal and state permitting authority. So there is a reason to keep it in addition to just being historical. Of course, that's reason enough for me.
Well, what about the records you were telling us before we got on the air that were burned during the Civil War? And how did you get them back? Was there a method that you used, or?
Well, actually, Thomas
how did you-
Beatty did that.
So that's what you're just talking about with him?
I'm
So-
now in the process of preserving some of those original.
What
written
happened
documents.
during the flooding of the recent storm that we had, Florence? So were you affected in any way? Were the records affected? I know a lot of that is buildings there were flooded. I don't know if yours were or not.
Two of the biggest parts of my job is to obviously record documents,
Yeah, sure.
but also to preserve those documents so they can be accessed by the public, preserving that registry. So we take that very seriously. Our building is in a floodplain. It's come very close. This time the water came right up to the building.
You were an island, wasn't it? The building was essentially an island.
It went up to 27.6 feet.
It
Flooding,
got, water was on 3 sides of the building, all of our
your
parking.
building?
Yes.
3 sides, oh my gosh.
And when the storm drain started flooding, we started losing access to the building. So we were just a foot or two away from the entire courthouse being shut down.
Wow.
And eventually, if water gets high enough, it would come in the courthouse. So we had to take care to ensure our registry.
When you're talking about courthouse, the old courthouse on 3rd or the new courthouse? The new courthouse.
The Government and Justice Center.
Oh my God. So they didn't plan for
It's
flooding
closer to the
when they
river
built.
than the old
Yeah.
courthouse.
So what happened? Tell us what happened. How did you get to your office?
It was difficult. We had to park. We never closed, by the way, other than 2 days for the hurricane, that the entire county was shut down. The Register of Deeds office was open continuously through the flood for 3 reasons. Our employees, obviously, but also
Well, how did you get
business
there? How did you
continued.
get there? Because you're coming from Myrtle Beach over to Conway.
It was
Difficult
difficult.
for you. Did you go by rowboat or what? How did you do that?
Some days was a better than 2-hour commute.
Oh my.
One day I spent 5.5 hours on the road getting to Conway and back. And we had employees that did that as well. It was not
Well, how
easy.
deep was the flooding there?
Well, we still had doors to the courthouse open and people could get in, but it was
So you
difficult.
kept them open. You didn't shut them because it'd be difficult to open them, I'm sure.
Well, what was difficult was people to get to the courthouse.
I
We
understand
only
that.
have one office. We don't have satellite offices like some of the county facilities.
Are you thinking about
So-
having satellite offices?
Well, we have thought about that. That's not strictly my decision. It would require some,
You can make recommendations.
I can make a recommendation, but I don't know how far it would get right now. We might be looking at that some point in the future.
Because
But at one
it's
time-
growing. The county is growing, as you know, Mary.
At one time, we had couriers set up to shuttle documents in with a fireman's brigade set up to run the documents into the courthouse and get them
During the flooding.
recorded. We even had one situation where a group of recorders could not get to the courthouse, made it as far from the beach as Coastal Carolina, parked their car and rode bikes into the courthouse to record documents.
Well, we got to hold on that note for a minute and take another break, and we'll be back.
My name is Angelo Antonucci, and I'd like to welcome you to my restaurant. I've been in Myrtle Beach now for over 30 years, and we are the home of the greatest steaks in the universe.
Here at Angelo's, we have a fantastic Italian buffet with your favorite pastas served with meatballs and sausage and delicious gourmet pizzas. But where we really shine is our entrees like our Scampi Traditional, Alfredo or Lemon Romano served over linguine, our French pork chops with garlic mashed potatoes, and our twin fillets featuring our signature Marsala sauce. It's a great place to enjoy with family and friends, so stop by and see us at our new location at the corner of 24th Avenue South and South Kings Highway.
Don't just take my word for it. Come in and try Angelo's, home of the greatest steaks in the universe.
Here at Angelo's.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a server at Brothers Grill, and as a server here, I like to make sure everybody has amazing service and good fresh food every single day. We serve lunch and dinner from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., our happy hours from 4 to 7, and we're located on 5900 North Kings Highway. Follow us on Facebook at Brothers Grill Myrtle Beach.
We were just talking about your trials and tribulations, I guess, during the flooding that we had recently. But that shuttle system, or whatever we should call it, I'm not, thrown together out of necessity, shows exactly actually, I think the kind of response that we had throughout the county to many of the things that occurred that we never thought were going to occur.
That's true, and you mentioned that I had served on council for 13 years. I served most of that time on the administration committee and chaired it for a number of years, which oversees the Register of Deeds office. So you would think I would have a pretty good handle on it, and I thought I did. I had no clue how busy the Register of Deeds office is. It's a very busy, busy place.
I know.
We are obviously, by far, the biggest and most largest ROD in the
How
state.
fast are we growing here in Horry County? Every time you look around, there's a new development coming up.
Well, just
500
by
homes,
way
1,000
of
homes?
comparison to the rest of South Carolina,
Yeah.
the second biggest ROD office is Greenville. They record about 120,000 documents a year.
100.
Our number is artificially low because of a business practice called blanket assignments. Nevertheless, even using those, we're recording about 155,000.
Well, what is a blanket assignments? What is that?
Well, hang on.
Okay.
If we didn't do the blankets and it was a true number, we record the equivalent of 180,000. So 50% more than our closest competitor, or not competitor, but other county in the state. And that's because we are so large.
Yeah, we're the largest
We're a huge
county.
and our real estate community, what it is, a lot of transient, a lot of vacation homes, retirement homes, investment property that turns over on a regular basis, and based on the economy. Think about this. Every parcel with a house on it generates a deed, usually a mortgage, hopefully a mortgage satisfaction that requires something to be recorded in our office. If that one parcel, instead of one house, has 15 townhouses, then that's 15 deeds, 15 mortgages, 15 satisfactions. How about if that parcel is a condo complex with 300 properties, 300 deeds, 300 mortgages? And to show you how it goes exponentially, suppose that 300 condos are timeshare.
Oh, goodness, yes.
So you have 300 condos times 52
weeks.
Your favorite, I guess, customer in timeshare is Alan Clements.
We have a number of them. We have a number of them. And it's not unusual for them to come in and use those
Yeah, I can
blanket
imagine.
assignments to record 450, 500 deeds at one time.
You got veterans mortgages, and you have
Well, that's not part of their office. They
well,
record
they
what
go
comes
on
up,
and
but-
on and on. But,
We record deeds, mortgages, plats,
how do you work with the probate
powers
court?
of attorneys.
Do you work closely with the probate court?
On some matters we do. There are several offices that actually record documents. Clerk of court, probate judge, register of deeds. There's just different types of documents.
But they all have to go through you, right? They all funnel through you? They don't. So you don't get them. If the probate ordered to do a title, she'd have her own records, is that it? They won't come to you then?
It depends on what it is. If it's a deed, it would come to us, even if she prepares
Yeah,
it.
but, okay, so all of these go to you.
All deeds.
Okay, so that's-
Land records come to me.
Although they may do the deeds, they have to still come to you. So you file them.
Right.
Okay, that's interesting.
Well, if I can, I want to take us back a minute to his time on council.
Uh-oh.
You know, in the
He was a-
almost
he was a fighter.
In the almost 13 years that he served on council, I always enjoyed the occasional quip that would come from Marion from the dais. Okay, and you remember my good old nemesis Avcraft, right?
Oh, God, yes.
Well, I gotta say that I don't know if it's the finest quip I ever heard from county council dais, but certainly one of them. The night that Ben Bartel was looking to get money from the county for economic development to bring Avcraft here, Marion asked him if it wasn't Pimp My Ride for Airplanes.
Well, he was describing what they did, and that's kind of what it sounded like.
And the problem with Avcraft was it wasn't even that good.
Well, that saga
How many
went on
jobs
for
did they
years.
generate? How many shows?
50.
52, I think.
50.
Was,
At their peak.
And how many did they say they were going to bring
600.
600.
in? What happened, Marion? What happened? there?
That's economic development in Oregon County.
What happened? Can you tell us? Or was that a secret that cannot be disclosed?
Well, that was Joe DeFeo's big claim to fame, so unfortunately we can't ask him, but it never quite materialized, turned into the spending of a good bit of economic development money to.
Oh, we spent millions with Avcraft. And they were always going to, the plan changed, you know, but they're always going to produce new jobs, and they either conned or bought or whatever they did some of the more prominent, supposedly prominent people in the county to sing their song. And we were always, or at least I was always in the background saying, when are you guys going to learn? You know, P.T. Barnum said there was a sucker born every minute, but we were a sucker born every second for Avcraft for a number of years.
But I think Harold Worley was opposed to that, wasn't he?
There were a number. Most of the
I know
votes
Harold
were
didn't want to
pretty
go along with
split.
that. Harold is a fiscal conservative, and he watches the money of the county that spends, and he wasn't
Not
for
as
that at all.
closely as he watches his own, but
Well, don't say that. Now, Harold's a wonderful man. He's a good man.
I'm not
He's a good
saying that.
legislator.
I'm
He's
saying,
a good legislator. I know
I'm
what you're doing.
saying there's no smarter businessman around that I know than Harold Worley.
Harold Worley.
And he knows how to make money work for him in his business.
Well, he's-
It took a number of
He's
years,
astute.
but as the votes progressed, more and more members of council became skeptical. There were some of us that were skeptical from the get-go, though.
Oh, yes, right from the beginning. And boy, didn't we catch heck about it. About being against it. Oh, no, that's all political, and you don't have any reason, and this is a great company. And Joe Woodall told me he checked them all out, and they were wonderful. And that all went to crap.
Wow. You're getting to be kind of rough in your language there, Mr.
I am,
Gable.
but I could have been worse.
Well, Marion,
John, we're coming to the end.
well, oh gosh, I had a couple more questions to ask you.
We'll have you back. We'll have you back.
Now,
Look.
now you just finished the story about the Civil War, the burning of the records and so forth. Just finish that for the people that may be interested
Well,
in a little history of Horry County.
during Sherman's march, it spread out, obviously, and a lot's been said of the burning of Savannah and Columbia, and obviously on up through North Carolina. But they sent out bands to more rural counties. One hit Horry County, and they rode horses through the courthouse and set the records room on fire. And the records themselves were not burned, but the indexes were. So it's great to have the records, but if you can't find them, they're of limited value, and it really hampered transactions.
And Beatty was the one that
Thomas
set-
Beatty was the commissioner of location that went in and painstakingly recreated those
Well,
indexes.
who
John, we
the
can't-
oldest
we can't go
the oldest
anymore.
family in Horry County. Who's that?
Peter Horry.
No, Peter Horry never actually lived
Lived in
Horry
Horry County.
Was it Rankin?
I don't know that.
Well, Luke said it's Rankin. Senator Luke.
I'm not
No?
going to
Okay.
argue with him.
Okay. Anyway, I think we're finished.
Yeah, we are. Marion, thanks
Marion, thanks
for
a lot,
joining
Marion.
us. It was a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Really a
John, always
pleasure.
a
Really a pleasure.